head over to losingmymind.com to check out our latest song, Genocide. Support our work. Now, onto the show. Clay Travis tweeted, MSNBC historian says, if you vote for Republicans, your kids will be murdered and democracy will die. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado.
And a historian 50 years from now, if historians are allowed to write in this country, and if there are still free publishing houses and a free press, which I'm not certain of, but if that is true, a historian will say what was at stake tonight and this week was the fact whether we will be a democracy in the future, whether our children will be arrested and conceivably killed. We're on the edge of a brutal authoritarian system, and it could be a week away.
Like,
and a historian
this is what happens. They watch MSNBC, and this guy says, if the Republicans win, they're going to arrest your children and kill them. Like, they actually think in their minds, the cop is going to be like, you know, Trump's orders, walk into your house, take your 7-year-old in cuffs, and then bring him to a firing squad. What are they imagining happens in this country?
They're riding the back of the Trump bad narrative, man. The whole Biden administration and momentum is based on look how bad Trump was. It's so annoying. And now they're still saying it. They've extrapolated it to Trump's voter base. Right. And how bad they are. It's just Nazi propaganda, man. It's what Hitler did to the communists with the Reichstag fire. It's just this full false flag nonsense about creating a boogeyman. That's what I'm getting out of it.
The funny thing is if you juxtapose it to what McCarthy has said or the GOP agenda is after midterm elections. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
Entitlement reform.
Yeah.
So you have this guy screaming that, you know, like they're going to genocide your kids. And then McCarthy's like, actually, we just want to cut Social Security. You know, like, but it just, but on the other, how do I say this? I wish the GOP was half as radical as these people think it is. Because the disappointing thing is that the GOP is not nearly prepared to actually use the electoral windfall that it's going to get. For nothing it did, by the way. I think people are voting Republican, understandably, because the Democrats are so insane. But the GOP, I don't think, is prepared to actually use the electoral gains it's going to get to change the trajectory of the country in a meaningful way.
Bill Maher's a great example of what's wrong with the left, because you can see it when he says things on his show about the woke left and the whiny millennial and Gen Z babies and all that stuff. It's like, okay, he's clearly heard something, but he's not actually Googled it. Like, he's seen a video on Twitter and then said, oh, heavens me, I'm not going to research that. So then he goes on MSNBC and he's like, these right-wingers are so violent. It's like, bro, there was an insurrection on May 29th, 2020, where there were thousands of far-left extremists. There's photos of D.C. with fires raging. It's an overhead view of D.C. You see smoke everywhere. Right. They tore down the barricades at the White House. They set fire to St. John's Church. They firebombed a guard post on the White House grounds, and they injured 150 cops. 529. Worse than January 6th.
Yep. No, that's exactly right.
The president was forced into a bunker.
But I'm glad that Bill Maher will just kind of reflexively, do that, because it reminds people that, like, you can't trust people like Bill Maher. I'm sorry. Like, their tendency is always going to be to punch right at the moment of decision. And I think that's good that people are reminded of that, because there was a moment where, there was that segment that Bill Maher did, I think, with Weiss about COVID. And like, it was Weiss basically finally saying like, well, I'm not comfortable with like masking things like that. Right. It's like the rest of us are like already fed up with this. But because Bari Weiss and Bill Maher talk about it, now it's fine. Right. Now we can start saying like the masking and the vaccines and all the regulations were dumb and wrong. So I think it's good that Maher will still kind of misstep and expose himself.
I want to show this photo.
Yeah, that's right.
I just Googled DC BLM riots.
Yeah.
There's this view. I guess it came from a helicopter, and you can see black smoke rising. There's actually a wider shot. It shows black smoke rising in several areas.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen to these people. Like, in their minds, this never happened.
Nope.
You ask them about, like, what are you talking about? I actually saw leftist journalists have a big Twitter thread about how the BLM protests were peaceful. Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Yeah. That's what, who said that? MSNBC?
CNN
said that.
Yeah.
There's a journalist who said, the reason why we take MAGA so seriously, blah, blah, is because although there were protests during BLM, they were peaceful. And we need to understand that when we go out, I'm like, are you talking about...
People died. They literally got killed.
Several dozen
Yes.
people were killed. Billions of dollars in damage.
Yeah.
And then you see that MSNBC thing where they had the panel of Trump supporters. And the
yeah.
host goes, a cop died on January 6th. And they're like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, no,
he
he
died
didn't.
later from natural
Ashley
causes.
Babbitt died. Ashley Babbitt got
Babbitt was
shot.
shot, yeah.
That was the
By
only
a police officer.
person who died as a direct
Right.
result of that whole thing. Yeah.
Let him keep saying it. You know why? Because if there's anything you can do, like, Ian, you brought this up with your mom when you said Biden shouldn't be sniffing kids, and she said he's not doing that. And then you showed her, and she went,
Yeah.
okay, he shouldn't be doing that.
Yep.
If you can show someone,
right.
not as an adversary, like here's a video of them ransacking, burning St. John's Church.
Yep.
Here's a video of a man in Dearborn, Michigan saying, I don't like sexually explicit books in my kids' libraries.
Yeah.
Then they watch Colbert. And Colbert goes, that never happened. It didn't happen. We looked into it. Now all of a sudden that normie aunt or uncle of yours is watching and be like, I actually saw that. I saw that
Yep,
video.
that's right.
Colbert's lying.
Yep.
This is the part in the movie where people start pulling other people out of the matrix and start waking
Right.
them up. And it's because they're emotionally on the same level.
It was like with the whole replacement theory thing that happened a while ago. I wrote an article in Newsweek, and it was just so easy to show that the Democratic Party has for decades made it an official electoral strategy to simply replace the electorate. Like they say it openly, like that basically fewer white people means more wins for us. Like this is not me saying this. This is the Democratic Party saying this. And this is why it fell apart, was because it's like, no, we can just quote the New York Times saying this.
But when Tucker Carlson said, this is what they're saying, they said he's promoting great replacement.
That's right.
And it's like he's quoting Democrats.
Yes, it's
who
like
outright
the
say
New
this.
York Times is promoting the Great Replacement. Charles Blow, it's Democrat politicians who are promoting it. Tucker is just repeating what you're saying in your own words. So no, you're right. Like you allow these people to just show you who they really are.
Yeah, but he's not celebrating and cheering it on, so he's
Yes.
man bad.
But I do think the white angle is the incorrect angle. Like, I really don't care if a bunch of Venezuelans come to the United States for the most part because they hate communists. Like, that's the reason they're fleeing.
Mm-hmm.
So typically when you see like in Miami, you'll meet Venezuelans and Cubans. They're like, communism is trash. We love America. This is a great country, free speech, free enterprise. And I'm like, I like that. These are good people. So it's not about race. It's about values. The problem we have is they're bringing in people who are just looking for an economic opportunity, and it's nothing to do with any of this. When you see people coming across the border, it's like, I can make more money here. They don't know our values. They don't believe in our values. And that's an issue for us because Democrats are trying to bring in people to allow them to get political power, either through the census or through creating new demographics, new voter bases. But they're creating a demographic of people who are like, I just want something. So then you get voters who are like, don't care, don't know. If you give me something, I'll vote for you. Yeah. That's why Joe Biden's like, I'll give you 10 grand towards your student loans.
I mean, there's a whole argument to make that, that the identity aspect does matter. But from my position, I just think it's ghoulish to basically celebrate and advocate replacing the core demographic of a country. When has it ever happened before? When has it been openly discussed in human history? Like, let's take the stock population and just replace them.
Yeah, it's not like
Genghis
talked about
Khan, I think, did
the
that.
Romans for sure, but they don't talk joyfully about it.
About themselves. I'm saying like that. That's just, this has never happened before. It never in human history has a society talked about its own core demographic population like that. Like the Romans didn't say we're going to replace ourselves or something like that.
No, they would replace
look.
the conquered Gauls with Romans.
I really
Sure.
don't think the identity thing is. I don't think the immutable identity thing matters. When Candace Owens comes out, they say she's a white supremacist.
Right. I get that too.
It's because there's cultural.
That's the point. Like, if the white liberals nod and agree with whatever they say, so it works for them. Any other group that agrees with what they say, it works for them. But it's not about race. They'll come out and claim, this white person who is engaging in racist activities isn't racist if it's in favor of them. Affirmative action, for instance, or creating segregated libraries. Like they did that educational thing in, I can't remember where it's Seattle or whatever. Dearborn did this with POC and non-POC digital cafes. If it's a white person doing that, it's not racist. If it's a conservative person, if it's a conservative white person, no matter what you do, it's racist. Yeah. But if you're a conservative black person, if you're Larry Elder, you're the black face of white supremacy. Right. So what I see is they're looking for a way to bring in people who don't care about the American ideology, the American way of life. That's all that matters. If you were born in America and you're a Marxist and you hate America, you are welcome. They're not going to insult you. They're not going to smear you. You're good. You're golden, even if you're white. If you're a black conservative, but you believe in American values and free speech, you're a white supremacist.
Yeah, or Uncle Tom.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sure. I think there's a middle ground there between people like me and people like you. I mean, that basically, yeah, it does seem to be a policy of the Democrats to simply try to replace the demographics that they view as troublesome, whether or not that's actually true. I mean, that is what they advocate. Yeah,
It's a correlation, right? This country in the 60s, I think, was like 90 some odd percent white. Most of these people are, they're Christian, they're meritocratic, they're anti-communist.
sure.
So the easiest way to target that demographic is the surface level racial attack, exploit racial animosity. I mean, I think this is part of like the communist strategy for subverting a country. But the reality is you can be of any background and have values that we think are good, and the Democrats will try to destroy you. They'll lie about you. They'll smear you, and they don't want you here.
Yeah, I think that ultimately what we're talking about is assimilation. And I think that what we're saying is that people that come to this country are expected to assimilate into certain values, right? And my position is just that the things that we refer to as American values originate in a specific demographic. And that's not to say that other people can't, assimilate into that. But assimilation is very tricky. It requires pauses in immigration. It requires a kind of a basic understanding of like house rules. We don't have that. Anything goes except, of course, the things that we can characterize as racist. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's an agreement there.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.